She rolled down her window, smiled at the hot biker, and winked. If Olivia Carter had known who he really was, she wouldn't have teased him in traffic. The sun was melting over the city skyline, staining the glass buildings in gold. Olivia Carter drummed her fingers on the steering wheel, stuck in another endless New York rush hour. Her air conditioning was broken, her playlist was blasting something upbeat just to fight the frustration, and she still had one last delivery to make for the photography studio before closing time. Then she heard it. The deep growl of an engine beside her. She turned her head and froze. A black Ducati stopped right next to her window, rumbling like a living thing. The man astride it looked like he had stepped out of another world. Long dark hair tied in a low bun, a beard framing sharp cheekbones, green eyes that reflected the sunlight like polished glass. His black t-shirt hugged a broad chest, tattoos crawling down his forearms, veins visible as he twisted the throttle lazily. He didn't glance at the road. He looked straight at her. Olivia's lips parted in surprise. Something inside her, somewhere between curiosity and danger, pushed her to roll the window down another inch. "Nice bike," she said, a teasing smile playing at the corner of her mouth. His voice came low, rough, carrying easily over the engine. "Nice car," he replied. "But you look like you'd rather ride with me." Her heart skipped. Nobody had ever said something like that to her with so little effort. No arrogance, no smirk, just certainty. She raised her brows. "You always talk to strangers in traffic?" "Only when they look worth the stop." The light turned green. He didn't move. Neither did she. The car behind them honked. Olivia laughed, shifting gears, finally driving forward. In her mirror, she saw him start the bike and follow, the distance between them closing with every car length. It wasn't until she turned into a side street near the studio that she realized he was still there. Inside the glass front of Harper and Carter Studios, Olivia tried to shake off the feeling. She told herself it was just another flirt, just adrenaline and sunlight, nothing more. She changed her shirt, tied her hair up, and started sorting the camera gear for tomorrow's shoot. But the growl of that same engine echoed again outside. She glanced through the blinds. The motorcycle was parked across the street, angled perfectly toward the front window. The rider sat still, gloved hands resting on his thighs, helmet balanced on the handlebar. No movement, just watching. Her pulse quickened. Part of her wanted to be scared. The other part, the one that remembered his voice, wanted to open the door. After a few minutes, he got off the bike. He moved with the easy confidence of someone used to owning the space he stepped into. When he pushed the door open, the studio's bell chimed softly. Up close, he was even more unreal. The same green eyes. The same quiet power. "Can I help you?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "You smiled at me in traffic," he said simply. "I wanted to know if it was on purpose." Olivia blinked. "You followed me here for that?" He shrugged one shoulder. The leather of his jacket creaked softly. "Maybe I just don't like unanswered questions." Her laugh came out nervous. "Then yes, it was on purpose. Happy?" "Not yet." He studied her a second longer. "What's your name?" "Olivia." "Lorenzo." He offered his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and when their palms met, she noticed the ink lines running along his wrist, symbols she didn't recognize. The moment stretched. The air felt heavier. Later that night, after he'd left with nothing more than a nod and a look that stayed under her skin, Olivia told herself she was being ridiculous. She'd met plenty of clients, models, even actors. No one had ever made her forget how to breathe. Still, when she closed the studio, she caught sight of the black Ducati parked half a block down, facing the direction of her apartment. Maybe coincidence, maybe not. Across the street, inside a sleek SUV, two men watched as Lorenzo Moretti removed his leather gloves. "Boss," one of them said quietly, "you sure it's smart to ride around without backup? The Rossi crew's been sighted uptown." Lorenzo ignored him, his eyes still on the studio window where Olivia had just turned off the lights. "Find out who she is," he said. "Name?" "Olivia Carter, Harper and Carter Studios. Don't approach her, just information." The man nodded, pulling out a phone. "You want us to make contact?" "No." Lorenzo's gaze hardened. If anyone else does, I'll know. When he spoke again, his tone dropped to the quiet command that made men twice his size fall silent. No one touches her. The Ducati roared back to life moments later, disappearing into the night. Inside her small apartment, Olivia poured herself a glass of wine and tried to focus on her phone. But the memory of that look, those eyes, wouldn't leave her. She thought of the way he'd said her name once, slowly, like he was memorizing it. Olivia. She smiled to herself, shaking her head. He's probably some rich guy with a midlife crisis motorcycle, she muttered, setting the glass down. Outside, under the glow of a streetlight, a black SUV stopped at the corner. One man stepped out, placed a small device under her car bumper, and got back in without a word. From a distance, Lorenzo watched from the bike, expression unreadable. He'd told them not to touch her. He hadn't said they couldn't protect her. When she opened her curtains the next morning, she noticed the same bike across the street again. Same spot, same man. And for reasons she couldn't explain, instead of fear, what she felt first was a flutter of excitement. The kind that starts in the chest and spreads like fire. Olivia Carter had no idea the man she flirted with didn't chase women. He chased problems, and she had just become one. Olivia was not the kind of woman who scared easily. She worked with strangers every day, carried cameras in bad neighborhoods sometimes, and had already kicked out more than one man who thought photography studio meant I can talk to the girl at the desk like she's on an app. She knew how to smile, how to set boundaries, and how to pretend she didn't notice when someone stared too long. But she had never had a man come back the next day. Not just any man. That man. At 9:12 a.m., the studio bell chimed. She was alone. Harper, her business partner, had gone to a meeting. The sun was coming in through the big front windows, dust floating in the air. Olivia was editing pictures on her laptop, hair up, t-shirt tied at the waist. When she looked up and saw him, her heart did the same stupid thing it had done in traffic. Lorenzo Moretti filled the doorway like he belonged there. Today he wasn't in full biker mode. He wore a fitted dark shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms, showing the tattoos she'd only partially seen the day before. His long dark hair was pulled back in that low knot again. His beard was trimmed, his jaw clean. And those green eyes scanned the room once, landing on her like she was the only reason he'd come. "Morning," he said, voice low, casual, like they'd known each other for weeks. Olivia stood up a little too fast. "You again. You say that like it's bad." "It's surprising." She crossed her arms, partly to look confident, partly because his gaze had dropped, just for a second, to the hem of her tied t-shirt. "Do you always follow women who smile at you in traffic?" "Only the reckless ones," he said. "And you smiled twice." She tried not to smile a third time. "Do you need something, Lorenzo?" "I wanted to see you." That threw her off. No line, no excuse, no, "I left my wallet." Just the truth. She tilted her head. "You came all the way here just to see me?" "I was close." He took a few steps in, the leather of his boots tapping softly on the floor. "And I wanted to make sure you got home safe yesterday." Her brows pinched. "How would you even know that?" He didn't answer. Instead, he reached for something in his pocket and set it on the counter. A small box of pastries from the bakery across the street. "You skipped dinner," he said. "You looked tired. Were you watching me?" "Someone has to." There should have been alarm bells in her head. Instead, there was heat in her cheeks. "You're very sure of yourself," she said. "I'm very sure of what I want." His eyes didn't leave hers. For a second, the studio felt too small. To break the tension, she moved around the counter. "I have a shoot at 11. I can't really—" "It won't take long." He turned slightly, sensing movement outside. Olivia saw it too, the reflection of a man passing by the window a little slower than normal. Lorenzo's eyes narrowed. He shifted, placing himself just a bit between her and the glass, so subtle she almost missed it. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "Do you know him?" he asked back, without looking away. She glanced. "No, we get people looking in all the time." He stayed where he was until the man was gone. Only then did he look back at her. You should be more careful. I run a studio with big windows, Lorenzo. People are going to look. I'm not talking about your studio. His tone was different now, not flirtatious, not playful, protective, warning. Olivia swallowed. Is this the part where you tell me who you really are? His lips curved the tiniest bit. Not yet. She let out a breathy laugh. Then what are you doing here? I wanted to see if you'd still smile at me when I wasn't on a bike. She rolled her eyes. You mean when you're not being dramatic in traffic? You liked it. Maybe. His gaze lowered to her mouth. You did. Her pulse skittered. She stepped back, not because she wanted to, but because the way he was looking at her made her think about things she absolutely did not have time to think about on a Thursday morning. Do you want coffee? She blurted. He nodded once. Yeah. She went to the small kitchenette behind the backdrop rack. When she turned, he was there, not too close, but close enough for her to smell his cologne, warm, expensive, masculine. He took the cup from her hand, and for a second their fingers overlapped. His hand was warm, big, tattooed. Her eyes dropped to it before she could stop herself. You like tattoos? He asked quietly. She shrugged, trying to act uninterested. Depends who they're on. Who do you like them on? She looked up into those green eyes and said, a little braver than she felt, men who look like trouble. He huffed a soft laugh through his nose. Then you really shouldn't be talking to me. Maybe I like bad ideas. Maybe I don't want you to get hurt because of one. There it was again, that edge. Because of you? She asked. Why would I get hurt because of you? Before he could answer, the bell over the door chimed again. This time it wasn't Lorenzo's energy that filled the room. It was something jumpier, more invasive. Olivia, a male voice called. Hey. She closed her eyes briefly. Oh, God. A tall, thin man in a too-tight dress shirt walked in, holding a folder. You didn't answer my texts, so I figured I'd just swing by. We still need to talk about the wedding package. He stopped when he saw Lorenzo. The difference between the two men was almost funny. The new guy, Ethan Blake, a client-turned-annoying acquaintance, shifted awkwardly, eyeing the broad-shouldered stranger with the tattoos and tied-back hair. Oh, Ethan said. Didn't know you were with someone. I'm not, Olivia said quickly. Ethan, this is Lorenzo, he supplied, not offering his hand. Ethan glanced between them, reading the tension wrong. So, you never texted me back. Because we're booked, Olivia said, trying to keep it professional. And I told you we don't do last-minute reshoots on weekends. It's just one session, he insisted, stepping closer. And I thought we had a good vibe yesterday. She said she's booked, Lorenzo said, tone flat. Ethan blinked at him. I was talking to her. And I'm telling you, Lorenzo said, eyes steady. She's booked. The air shifted. Ethan bristled. Dude, I don't even know who you are. You don't need to. Olivia moved between them. Okay, stop. Ethan, this really isn't a good time. He frowned. Are you serious? You talked to me for 20 minutes about my fiancé's shoot and now you can't even answer a text? Because it's business, Olivia said, patience thinning. Not. Ethan reached out and caught her wrist. It wasn't hard. It wasn't violent, but it was possessive, entitled. That was enough. Lorenzo was on him before Olivia could even pull away. He didn't hit him. He didn't throw him. He just closed his hand around Ethan's wrist and peeled it off her with slow, controlled strength, like he was removing something dirty from something precious. Don't touch her, he said, voice calm. Too calm. Ethan tried to yank back. He couldn't. What the hell, man? You touched her, Lorenzo repeated, eyes darkening, green turning cold. Don't do it again. Ethan swallowed, eyes darting to the door, to Olivia, to Lorenzo's hand. Okay. Chill. Lorenzo let go. Ethan rubbed his wrist, glaring. You know what? Forget it. I'll find another studio. You should, Lorenzo said. Ethan opened his mouth to argue, saw the look in Lorenzo's eyes and decided he liked his bones unbroken. He turned and left, the bell chiming sharply behind him. Silence fell. Olivia stared at Lorenzo. You can't do that. He grabbed you. He didn't hurt me. He was about to. She exhaled, adrenaline making her hands shake. You can't just show up here and handle my life. I didn't handle your life. He looked at her like he was fighting the urge to touch her arm, to make sure she was okay. I handled a man who put his hand where it shouldn't be. Her chest tightened. Is this what you do? She asked, softer now. Walk around protecting women from men like that? No. His gaze held hers. I don't usually care. That did something to her. He watched her, reading her reaction. Then he stepped a little closer. You're shaking. I'm fine. You're not. I said I'm. He reached out and very gently cupped her elbow. Warmth spread through her arm at once, up to her shoulder, to her throat. His touch was careful, like he knew exactly how strong he was and didn't want to scare her. Breathe, he murmured. She did. For a heartbeat, the room shrunk to the two of them. Her in her studio, with the dangerous man she'd flirted with in traffic, his hand on her arm, his eyes on her mouth. Lorenzo, she whispered. He let his gaze drop to her lips, then back to her eyes. You shouldn't let men talk to you like that. He was a client. He thought he was more. He wasn't. I know, he said, because I was here. His thumb brushed the inside of her elbow. It was nothing. It was everything. Her breath hitched. She needed to get the conversation back under control. You said yesterday you don't like unanswered questions. I don't. So here's mine. Her voice steadied. Who are you? His jaw flexed. He could have lied. He could have said finance, construction, security. He could have given her a half-truth. Instead, he did what men who live in danger sometimes do when they meet someone they don't want to lose. He gave her just enough to make her understand the risk, but not enough to make her run. My name is Lorenzo Moretti, he said slowly. My family has businesses, some of them clean, some of them not. People who know my name usually don't bother the people I'm seen with. She stared at him. So you're, what, Mafia? His lips twitched, but not in amusement. That's an old word, but yes. Something like that. Her stomach flipped. So I really did flirt with the wrong man in traffic, she said, half in disbelief, half in awe. You flirted with the most watched man in this city, he corrected. There are people who would love to use anyone close to me. Anyone? She echoed. Even someone you just met? They don't know we just met. That landed. You're saying, she said slowly, that just because I rolled down my window, someone could think I'm involved with you? Yes. And they could come after me? His eyes turned hard. If they do, they don't walk away. She swallowed. That sounds like a threat. It is. Against me? Against them, he said. Never against you. He let go of her elbow then, as if remembering he shouldn't be touching her. The loss of warmth made her want to step back into him. Look, she said, rubbing her arm. I didn't mean to cause you trouble. I didn't know who you were. You didn't, he agreed. That's why I'm here. To warn me? To protect you. She stared. From who? He glanced toward the window again, the muscle in his jaw ticking. From anyone who saw you smile at me. Her heart pounded. That's ridiculous. That's my world. She was quiet for a moment. And you just brought me into it because I smiled. He held her gaze. Because I liked it. That honesty made her chest ache. Before she could reply, his phone vibrated. He checked it, eyes narrowing. What is it? She asked. He didn't answer right away. Then, in that same calm tone, he said, One of my men just told me someone ran your plate last night. Her blood ran cold. What? You were followed, Olivia. She shook her head. No, I would have seen. They were good, he said. Not mine. Not yours? she repeated, voice higher. Then whose? That's what I'm going to find out. He slipped his phone back in his pocket and looked at her, decision already made. You're not staying here alone, he said. What? You heard me. You can't just... I can. His eyes softened, even as his voice stayed firm. Pack what you need. You're staying somewhere safer tonight. I don't even know you, she argued. You know enough. That you're Mafia? That I won't let anything happen to you. Her breath caught. She should have said no. She should have told him she didn't go anywhere with strange men, especially not ones who admitted to having not clean businesses. But the way he'd removed Ethan's hand from her, the way he'd stepped between her and the window, the way he'd said, no one touches her, it did something dangerous to her logic. Where would I even stay? She asked, voice smaller. A place no one knows you're in, he said. With me? She stared at him. With you? His eyes held hers, heat flickering under the green. You flirted with me, Olivia, he murmured. You don't get to pretend I didn't notice. Her heart slammed so loud she could hear it. Before she could answer, the bell chimed again. Olivia turned, expecting another client. Instead, the same man from earlier, Ethan, stood there, anger in his face, like he'd spent the last 10 minutes hyping himself up in the car. I forgot something, he snapped. And I don't like being disrespect. He didn't finish. Because this time, when he saw Lorenzo's eyes, he saw something he hadn't seen before. Not patience, not warning. A flash of something cold, lethal, the kind of look that didn't belong to a biker. It belonged to a man other men feared. And Olivia suddenly understood. She really had flirted with the wrong man in traffic. Or the right one. She just didn't know which yet. Olivia didn't think he would actually come back. Guys like him didn't. Guys like him were the kind you saw once at a red light, flirted with, laughed about with your best friend, and never met again. They didn't show up at your workplace the next morning looking like sin in a black shirt and sleeves rolled up, like they had all the time in the world to stand there and watch you. But Lorenzo Moretti did. And the problem was, the more he showed up, the less he looked like a hot biker, and the more he looked like exactly what he'd hinted. A man people didn't mess with. She'd already seen it when he made that annoying client back off. He hadn't even raised his voice. He'd just removed the guy's hand from her. Calm, controlled, like he'd done it 1,000 times and none of them had ended well for the other person. Now she was sitting beside him in the back of a black SUV, watching her neighborhood slide by, and the reality of it was finally catching up. She turned to him. So this is really happening? Yes, he said, eyes on the street. This is happening. You're taking me somewhere else. I'm taking you somewhere safe. She let out a breath. I don't usually go to somewhere safe with men I met in traffic. He glanced at her then, green eyes softening just a fraction. I don't usually move women because of me. You're the exception. That shouldn't have made her stomach flip. It did. Outside, the SUV slowed in front of her building. Ordinary brick, old stoop, mailboxes that stuck sometimes. Nothing about it said Mafia related. That was the problem. It was easy. Easy to reach, easy to follow, easy to hurt. Lorenzo turned his body toward her, forearm on the back of the seat. Up close like that, with his long dark hair tied back and his beard lining his jaw, he looked even more like the men you weren't supposed to tempt. Listen to me, he said quietly. You go up. You grab what you need for one night. Maybe two. No calls, no posts, no telling your friends where you are. I can at least text my partner, she said, so she doesn't think I disappeared. You can say you're shooting on location, he allowed. Nothing else. She narrowed her eyes. You really give orders to everyone around you, don't you? He didn't apologize. I give orders when I know what kind of people are on the other side. You mean the people who ran my plate? Yeah. Who are they? Could be no one. Could be someone trying to see if they can get to me through you. His jaw tightened. Either way, I don't let them try. Her chest tightened at the way he said, I don't let, like the world obeyed. Okay, she said finally. I'll be fast. He shook his head. 3 minutes. 3? If you're not back in 3, I'm coming up. That's bossy. That's alive. She rolled her eyes, but there was a smile hiding there. Fine. He reached for the door handle, then stopped and looked at her one more time. Olivia. What? Don't open the door for anyone but me. That time she didn't joke. Okay. She stepped out. From his seat, Lorenzo watched her cross the street and disappear inside the building. The driver kept the engine on. The second man in the passenger seat had a tablet open, already pulling nearby traffic cameras. Talk to me, Lorenzo said. Same IP from yesterday, the man said. Same block that got hit. Somebody's watching cars in this area. Rossi? Could be. Of course it was. The Rossi crew had been quiet for 2 months. Too quiet. And then Lorenzo gets seen with a woman, and suddenly someone is sniffing around her street? No coincidence. He drummed his fingers once on his knee, then looked at the front door again. 1 minute had passed. Inside, Olivia was moving. She unlocked her door, dropped her bag on the couch, and went straight for the bedroom. She didn't have much to pack. 2 outfits, underwear, makeup bag, laptop. Her mind was moving faster than her hands. Was she really doing this? Yes. Because an actual Mafia man told her someone ran her plate. Because an actual Mafia man had looked at her like she was already his responsibility. She zipped her bag and heard it. A sound from the front door. Not the knob. The lock. She froze. Lorenzo? She called. No answer. Her heart kicked up. Slowly, she stepped out of the bedroom and into the short hallway that led to the living room. The door opened. It wasn't Lorenzo. A man in a dark hoodie and cap slipped inside like he'd done it 1,000 times. He wasn't looking at her. He was looking at the apartment, like he was checking the layout. Then he saw her. They both froze. He wasn't big. He wasn't scary looking. He was just wrong. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong face. And he absolutely did not belong inside her apartment. Olivia's mouth went dry. The man's eyes darted past her to the bedroom. Maybe he thought he could shove her and run. He didn't get the chance. From the hallway came a voice she already recognized. Deep, sharp, and now carrying a command that could cut through walls. Olivia, get back! She didn't even think. She obeyed. She jumped behind the end of the couch as footsteps stormed up the stairs and into her door. Lorenzo was there in seconds, moving like someone who'd been trained to enter rooms. He grabbed the intruder before the guy could bolt back out, slamming him against the wall right beside the door. It wasn't wild. It wasn't messy. It was clean, efficient, controlled violence. Who sent you? Lorenzo growled in the man's ear. The intruder squirmed, trying to get out of his grip. He couldn't. Lorenzo was taller, stronger, and absolutely not in the mood. I was just... Wrong answer. Lorenzo yanked the man's arm up behind his back. Who sent you? Man, I was just told to check. To check what? Lorenzo pushed harder. The man hissed in pain. To check if she lives alone? To check if I was lying about seeing her? To check if you could grab her? Olivia clutched the back of the couch, watching with wide eyes. Her heart was pounding so hard it hurt. This was not a joke anymore. This was not hot biker. This was something else. This was the part of him people whispered about. Name, Lorenzo said. No name, I swear, the man said, breathing fast. Guy just said the biker was seen with a girl. We just wanted to see. Lorenzo's eyes went ice cold. He looked over his shoulder at Olivia. You see? He said, voice lower now. I told you. She swallowed. You were right. He called over his shoulder, not taking his hand off the intruder. Bring him down. The 2 men from the SUV were already at the door. They took the intruder from Lorenzo like this was routine, like this was just another Tuesday for them. Quiet, Lorenzo told them. No neighbors. They nodded and disappeared with the struggling man, taking him down the stairs. Silence fell. Only then did Lorenzo close the door. He leaned on it for a second, exhaling once, letting the adrenaline drain. Then he turned to her. The hard boss was still there in his posture, but his eyes, those green eyes, softened the moment they landed on her. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "No," she said, voice shaky. "No, I'm okay." He walked toward her. Not fast, not to startle her. Slow, calm. He reached out and took her arm, the way he'd done in the studio, thumb brushing lightly over her skin to ground her. "Look at me," he said. She lifted her gaze. "You saw what just happened," he said. "You understand now why I told you you're not staying here." She nodded, breathing faster. "Yeah, I get it. This wasn't about you," he said. "This was about me, about someone seeing me with you. That's enough for them." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "This is your life." "This is the part I don't show," he said. "This is why I don't date outside the circle. This is why I don't let people get close." "But you came to see me," she said. He dipped his head just a little. "I know. And now I'm in it." "You smiled in traffic," he said, a hint of something like regret and amusement mixed together. "You made it hard." Despite the situation, a small, breathless laugh escaped her. "So this is my fault?" "It's our fault," he corrected. "I should have kept riding." "You didn't." "No." His eyes lingered on her mouth. "I didn't." For a moment the room was full of the aftertaste of danger and the beginning of something else. His hand was still on her arm. Her body was still buzzing from the scare. The combination made everything feel sharper. His scent, his warmth, the way a strand of his long hair had come loose from the tie and fallen near his cheek. She wanted to reach up and tuck it back. He seemed to feel it because he pulled his hand back before either of them crossed a line. "Get your bag," he said, gentler now. "We're leaving." "Where are we going?" she asked. "A place where they don't know you exist." She hesitated. "With you." "With me," he confirmed. "I'm not letting you out of my sight until I know they got the message." She stared at him, at the man who, less than 24 hours ago, was just a gorgeous stranger on a motorcycle. Now he was a shield, a problem, a temptation. "You do this with a lot of women?" she asked, only half joking. He shook his head once. "No, I don't let a lot of women become problems." She bit her lip. "So I'm a problem?" He held her gaze, something hot flickering there. "You have no idea." He picked up her bag from the couch like it weighed nothing and slung it over his shoulder. Then he put his hand on the small of her back, warm, firm, guiding, and walked her out of her own apartment. As they went down the stairs, Olivia realized something. She wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of what followed him. And right now he was the safest thing she had. Outside, the SUV door was already open. The street still looked normal. No one would know a man had just been dragged out of her place. Lorenzo helped her in, then slid in after her. "Drive," he told the men. "We're switching locations. No stops." The car pulled away. Olivia looked at him, really looked, taking in the long dark hair tied back, the beard, the tattoos, the eyes that missed nothing. "You're really not just a biker," she said quietly. "No," he said. "I'm not." "What are you then?" He turned his head, eyes locking on hers like he was letting her see a part no one outside his world saw. "I'm the man they didn't want you to meet," he said. "And now they know you did." The SUV merged into traffic, carrying her away from her normal life and straight into his. The SUV left her street like it had never been there. No sirens, no shouting, no neighbors peeking through curtains. To anyone watching, it was just another black car in afternoon traffic. But inside, Olivia sat very still, clutching the strap of her bag, while the man beside her watched the mirrors like he'd been doing it his whole life. Lorenzo had changed. Not his face, not his voice, his energy. In the studio, he'd been charming dangerous. In her apartment, he'd been lethal dangerous. Now, in the car, he was alert dangerous. The kind of alert that said he was responsible for every soul inside that vehicle, and anyone who tried something would not like the outcome. He glanced at her hand on the bag. "Hey." She looked up. "You're safe," he said. "Breathe." She did, slowly, I've never had someone break into my apartment before. That wasn't a break-in, he said. That was a check. A check? Someone saw me with you. They sent someone to confirm who you are, if you live alone, how easy it is to get to you. She stared at him. That's sick. That's my world. She let out a humorless breath. Your world sucks. A corner of his mouth lifted. Yeah, that's why I told you not to be in it. But I smiled, she said, mocking herself. You smiled, he agreed, eyes softening. And I didn't keep riding. They fell quiet. The city started to change outside. Less storefronts, more residential, then less of that too. After 20 minutes, the SUV turned off the main road, taking a street she didn't know, then another, then through a gate that opened as soon as they approached. The property was invisible from the road. That was the point. It wasn't a mansion, not the cliché marble Mafia palace. It was a modern, clean-lined house, concrete and glass, set back from the street, with tall trees and cameras positioned so well she almost didn't notice them. Secluded. Secure. A place chosen by someone who thought about angles, not about impressing people. The driver stopped under the overhang. One of the men got out first, scanning. Then he opened Olivia's door. Lorenzo stepped out and offered his hand to her like this was a date, not a protection move. She took it. His hand was warm and big around hers, and it made the whole thing feel less like kidnapping and more like being claimed. They walked inside. The air was cool, smelling faintly of cedar and something expensive. The foyer opened into a wide living area with floor-to-ceiling windows facing a private courtyard. There was almost no decor, just good furniture, neutral colors, a few pieces of art. It was a place where a man came to think, not to show off. "This is yours?" she asked. "One of mine," he said. "I don't bring people here. You're making a lot of exceptions today." He looked at her. "You're giving me a lot of reasons." That made her cheeks warm. He turned to the two men. "Perimeter?" "All clear," one said. "We'll rotate outside." "Good. No one in unless I say. Cameras on her building stay active." They nodded and left them. When the door closed, it was suddenly very quiet. Olivia stood in the middle of the room hugging her bag. "So, this is it?" "This is it," he said. "There's a guest room down the hall. You can shower, rest. Nobody knows you're here." "You sure?" "I'm sure." "And me being here doesn't put you in trouble?" He gave a short laugh. "I'm always in trouble." She bit her lip. "That's not comforting." "I'm not trying to comfort you," he said, stepping closer. "I'm trying to keep you breathing." That should not have sounded hot. It did. He pointed. "Bathroom there. Closet has towels, clothes if you need. Kitchen is open. I'll be on the phone for a bit." "Calling who?" "People who owe me information." She nodded slowly. "About the guys who ran my plate. About the guys stupid enough to do it." She hesitated. "And if they don't stop, they will?" His eyes flashed something darker. "I'll make sure." She believed him. She started toward the hallway, then stopped and looked back over her shoulder. "Lorenzo?" "Thank you." His gaze lingered on her a second too long. "Don't thank me yet." She didn't know what he meant by that. Not until later. The hot water helped. She stayed under it longer than she should, letting the adrenaline rinse off. When she stepped out, she realized she hadn't brought extra clothes into the bathroom. Of course. She opened the closet in the guest room and found, of course, men's clothes. Neatly folded shirts, sweatpants, black t-shirts, all his. She stared at them for a second. Then she picked a black t-shirt that smelled like him and a pair of soft joggers. The shirt was too big. It fell halfway down her thighs. Her damp hair was down now, curling at the ends. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she almost laughed. She did not look like Olivia, photographer. She looked like Olivia, woman hiding in a mafia boss's safe house wearing his clothes. When she padded barefoot back toward the living area, she heard his voice. Not raised, never raised. Calm, cutting. "No, you're not understanding me," he was saying in Italian. She recognized the musical rhythm, even if she didn't understand the words. You don't watch the woman. You watch the men watching the woman. If anyone gets close, you call me, not the police. Yes. Good. He ended the call and leaned on the counter, head bowed for a second, rubbing his hand over his jaw. His hair was still tied back, but a few pieces had fallen out around his temples. He looked up and stopped, because now he was seeing her in his t-shirt. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, heat, a very male appreciation he tried to hide. You found the closet, he said, voice a touch rougher. Yeah, I hope it's okay. It's okay. Sorry, I didn't bring clothes in the bathroom. It's okay, Olivia. He said her name like that again, slow, low, and it crawled right under her skin. She walked toward the kitchen island. So? Any news? He watched her walk. He didn't bother to disguise it. Yeah, he said. It was Rossi. Rossi? Another family, not as big, not as disciplined. They saw me with you and thought it was a good way to poke. To test you? To see how fast I react, to see if I let it slide. And do you? His eyes hardened. No. Are they going to come here? They don't know about here. And if they find out? They won't, he said. And if they do, they won't leave. The way he said it made her shiver. Not from fear, from the sheer certainty in his voice. He didn't just talk like a man with money. He talked like a man with soldiers. She leaned on the island. So, what now? We just hide? We don't hide, he corrected. We make it clear you're off limits. She blinked. How do you make something like that clear? I tell them. She huffed. And they just listen to you? He walked around the island, slow, deliberate, stopping a few feet from her. They do when they like breathing. That was when she realized he'd been holding back with her the whole time. The bike, the flirting, the smile. That was the surface. This was the core. This was the man whose name people said quietly. He was standing close now. Not touching. Not yet. You okay? He asked. I think so. You're shaking less. Hot shower. Or, he said, eyes dipping to the hem of his t-shirt on her thighs. You finally relaxed. That made her pulse jump. Don't look at me like that, she said. Like what? Like you're undressing me with your eyes. He tilted his head. I don't need to undress you. You already put my clothes on. Her breath caught. For a moment, neither of them said anything. The air between them thickened. The house was quiet, city sounds far away behind glass. It felt like the world had shrunk to the two of them. The girl who smiled in traffic and the man she shouldn't have tempted. He lifted a hand. Slowly. Giving her time to back away. She didn't. His fingers touched her jaw first, calloused thumb brushing where her pulse beat. He turned her face toward him, gentle but firm, like he was used to having people follow his touch. Lorenzo, she whispered. This is why I don't do this. He murmured back. Because once I start, I don't like stopping. Then don't. His eyes burned into hers. I should. Why? Because you're already a target by accident, he said. I shouldn't make it on purpose. God. That line. Her heart swelled and ached at the same time. He was so close now she could smell his skin, warm and clean from the day, mixed with leather and cologne. His hair had loosened more. One lock fell near his cheekbone. Without thinking, she reached up and tucked it back. His eyes dropped to her mouth. The green went darker. He slid his hand from her jaw to her chin, thumb under it, lifting. The other hand, the tattooed one, came to rest on the counter beside her hip, caging her in without actually pinning her. You know what happens if I kiss you? He asked, voice low, ragged around the edges now. What? I stop pretending this is just protection. Her lips parted. And what is it? It's me wanting you, he said simply. And I don't get to want things. Not in the open. Not where people can see. He was so honest it hurt. Then want it here? She breathed. No one can see here. He let out a soft, helpless laugh, a sound she hadn't heard from him yet. Then he leaned in. Their mouths were inches apart. She could feel his breath on her lips, hot and slow. Her hands went to his chest on instinct, not to push him away, but to feel him, the solid muscle under the black shirt, the heat. He angled his head. She closed her eyes, and the house beeped. Once, sharp, and alert. Lorenzo froze. The switch was instant. 1 second he was the man about to kiss her like he wanted to forget the world. The next he was the boss again, head turned toward the hallway, eyes narrowed. He muttered something in Italian, not angry, just annoyed at bad timing, and tapped the small panel on the wall. "Perimeter?" he said. A voice crackled back. "All clear. External feed tried to ping your location again. We blocked." His jaw clenched. "Rossi?" "Same source. Keep blocking. Don't let them triangulate." "Yes, sir." He turned back to her. She was still propped against the counter, cheeks flushed, lips parted, wearing his shirt. He exhaled slowly, thumb still under her chin. "You see," he said, voice low. "This is my life. Even when I want something, they try to get in." "Then don't let them," she whispered. He smiled, small and dangerous. "I never do." But he didn't kiss her. He held her there for a second longer, memorizing the way she looked at him. Not afraid, not disgusted, not overwhelmed. Just wanting, like him. Then he dropped his hand and stepped back. "We're not doing this when I'm distracted," he said. "If I kiss you, I want to feel it." Her stomach flipped. "You're very sure that's going to happen?" "Oh, it's going to happen." He walked to the fridge, grabbed 2 bottles of water like they hadn't just almost melted into each other. "But not when I might have to shoot someone 5 seconds later." She took the bottle he offered. "Do you always talk like that?" "Like what?" "Like kissing is a promise." "With me it is." She believed him. He leaned on the opposite counter now, putting a little distance back between them. Not because he didn't want her, that was obvious. Because he wanted control. "You'll sleep here tonight," he said. "Door locked. I'll be in the room across." "You don't have to." "I said I will." She smiled a little. "Bossy." "Alive," he repeated. She twisted the cap of the bottle. "What happens tomorrow?" "Tomorrow I make a call," he said. "I tell Rossi they don't touch you." "And they listen?" "They'll listen when they find out I moved you." His eyes met hers. "They'll know what that means." "What does it mean?" "It means you're under me," he said. Then, realizing how that sounded, his mouth twitched. "My protection." Her cheeks warmed again. He tilted his head toward the hallway. "Go rest. You've had enough for one day." "And you?" "I'll be up a while." "Working?" "Watching," he said, "making sure no one finds you twice." She hesitated in the doorway, fingers playing with the hem of his shirt. "Lorenzo?" You said you don't usually let women close." "I don't." "So why me?" He held her gaze for a long moment. Green eyes softer now, the boss fading, the man talking. "Because you smiled at me like you didn't know me," he said. "Like I was just a man on a bike. That's what you were to me." He nodded once. "I liked that." She smiled, small, real. "Good night, then." "Good night, Olivia." She disappeared down the hall. Lorenzo stayed where he was, staring at the dark glass, watching his security feeds one by one. Outside, his men stood guard. On another screen, he still had a view of her building. Police on the sidewalk now, pretending nothing unusual had happened. He should have felt tired. Instead, all he could think about was the way her lips had parted under his thumb. And how, for the first time in a long time, someone had become a target around him by accident. And how that accident was turning into exactly what he'd been trying to avoid. The first thing Olivia noticed when she woke up was silence. Not city silence. The fake kind filled with distant sirens and neighbors arguing. This was real quiet. Outside, birds. Somewhere far away, a car. And underneath that, the low hum of an air conditioner and the faint smell of coffee. She blinked, remembering where she was, the safe house, the Mafia boss, the almost kiss. She sat up slowly, running a hand through her hair. The t-shirt she'd slept in still smelled like him, clean, masculine, impossible to ignore. Her heart thumped just thinking about how close he'd been last night, how his thumb had tilted her chin, how his breath had brushed her lips right before the alarm interrupted. God. She pushed the blanket off, found her phone on the nightstand. No signal. Right, he'd blocked it. For security. She rolled her eyes. Of course. When she opened the door, the smell of coffee got stronger. She followed it to the kitchen and froze in the doorway. Lorenzo was already up. He stood by the counter, hair loose this time, the long dark strands falling around his face as he poured 2 cups. His black t-shirt stretched across his shoulders, tattoos visible down his forearms. Morning light filtered through the tall windows, catching the green in his eyes when he looked up. "Morning," he said. "Morning." Her voice came out softer than she wanted. "You sleep?" "Eventually." He handed her a cup. "Good. Drink." "You always give orders before caffeine?" she asked. He smiled, small but real. "Always." She took a sip, then leaned on the counter across from him. "So what's the plan today, boss?" He raised an eyebrow. "You mocking me or promoting me?" "Both." He chuckled quietly, then set his cup down. "I have to meet someone. About Rossi. Someone like who? Someone who owes me a favor." She watched him, the ease in the way he said it. Like this kind of meeting could end in either handshake or bloodshed, and it made no difference to him. "And me?" she asked. "You stay here. Alone? You'll have guards outside." She shook her head. "I'm not a child, Lorenzo." "No," he said, stepping closer. "You're a woman who's been followed, targeted, and almost attacked. I'm not leaving you unguarded. That's not your call." "It is," he said, "as long as they think you're mine." That stopped her. "Yours?" He met her eyes. "It keeps you alive." She swallowed, not sure if she was angry or something else. "And what if I don't want to be anyone's anything?" "Then you can leave when it's safe," he said. "But right now, it isn't." She wanted to argue, but he wasn't wrong. And maybe it was the way he stood. Calm, solid, dangerous and unmovable, but the words died on her tongue. Instead she said, "Fine. Go meet your friend. I'll stay here and try not to touch any buttons." His mouth twitched. "That's all I ask." He was halfway to the door when she stopped him. "Lorenzo." He looked back. "You never told me what you really do." "I did," he said. "You just didn't believe me. I mean the truth." He hesitated, then came back a few steps. "My family runs security and logistics. We protect people who pay, and we move things that need to move quietly." "Things?" "Information, money, sometimes favors." "Illegal favors?" "Depends who's asking." She stared at him. "And you're the boss." He didn't deny it. "How do you live with that?" she asked. "Knowing people fear you?" He studied her for a long moment. "People fear what they don't understand. I don't hurt people who don't deserve it. That's not really the same as innocent." "No," he said quietly. "It's not." He picked up his keys, locked the door behind me. Then he was gone. The day crawled. Olivia wandered the house, restless. The walls were too white, the windows too clean. Outside, 2 men stood near the gate, sunglasses, earpieces, no smiles. Inside, her head spun. Who was this man? One part of her said to leave the second she could. Another part whispered that she was safer here, with him, than anywhere else. And underneath that, something more dangerous whispered that she didn't want to leave. She ended up in his office. It wasn't locked. Just dark wood, leather, faint smell of cologne. On the desk, papers, a watch, a gun. She stopped at that. Black metal, heavy-looking, sitting like an unspoken warning. Next to it, a photo in a frame. A woman. Brunette. Beautiful. Standing beside Lorenzo in a formal suit. They looked like they belonged to another lifetime. Her chest tightened. She didn't even know why. Footsteps behind her made her jump. "I see you found her," he said. She turned. "Sorry, I didn't mean—" "It's fine." He walked in, loose and silent. "That's my sister. She's gone." Oh. Relief and embarrassment tangled in her throat. I thought... He smiled faintly. Not an ex. Good to know. Jealous? He asked, tone teasing. Curious. He came closer. Curious is dangerous around me. I noticed. He leaned on the desk beside her, arms crossed, watching her. You shouldn't be in here. Door was open. So is a lion's cage, he said. Doesn't mean you walk in. She rolled her eyes. You're not that scary. He leaned in a little. No? She could feel his breath. Maybe a little. He smiled. Slow, deliberate. Good. For a moment neither of them moved. The air felt heavy again, thick with whatever it was that kept pulling them closer no matter how many reasons she had to stay away. Then a knock at the door broke it. One of his men appeared. Boss, they're here. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. Who? Marcello Rossi and his driver. He cursed under his breath. Early. Olivia's heart skipped. He's coming here? Not inside, he said. We meet out back. She followed him through the house to the courtyard, stopping by the window as he walked to the gate. Two men waited. One tall, suit, grin too confident. Rossi. She couldn't hear the words, but she could see Lorenzo's posture. Straight, cold, unmoving. Whatever Rossi said made him laugh once. Then Lorenzo said something back, and Rossi's smile faded. A handshake, brief. Then Rossi turned and left. When Lorenzo came back inside, his eyes were sharp. Well, she asked. It's handled. Handled how? He knows what happens if he looks at you again. Her throat went dry. What happens? Lorenzo's voice was calm. He stops looking. She didn't ask for details. He walked past her, heading for the kitchen. You should eat something. She followed, crossing her arms. You really think threats solve everything? They solve enough. That's not how normal people live. He turned suddenly close, the edge back in his eyes. I'm not normal, Olivia. You knew that the moment you rolled your window down. Her breath caught. Then why keep pretending you are? I stopped pretending last night, he said quietly. And just like that, the space between them changed. He stepped closer. She didn't move. His hand came up, fingers brushing a strand of hair off her cheek. You shouldn't have come near me. You came near me. He smiled. You make it sound like I had a choice. Her pulse thudded in her ears. Do you always talk like that? Only when I mean it. He tilted his head, gaze dropping to her lips. And I mean it now. He kissed her. No hesitation this time. No alarms, no interruptions. Just heat. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't rough either. It was real. Weeks of control breaking in one breath. His hand cupped her face. Hers slid up to his chest, feeling the muscle flex as he pulled her closer. The kiss deepened, hungry, slow, everything he'd been holding back. When he finally broke it, his forehead stayed against hers, breath uneven. That's what happens when you smile at me, he murmured. Her voice was barely there. That was not a warning. It was everything else. He kissed her again, slower this time, softer. Then he pulled back completely, stepping away, trying to find his composure again. I shouldn't have done that, he said. Too late. He laughed quietly. You're trouble. So are you. He shook his head, running a hand through his hair. This complicates things. Because of Rossi? Because of everything, he said. I can protect you from them. I can't protect you from me. Maybe I don't need protecting. He looked at her, really looked, and something flickered behind his eyes that wasn't danger, wasn't desire. It was something deeper. Fear, maybe, of what she could make him feel. He sighed. Tomorrow I'll move you somewhere else, safer. And you? I'll deal with Rossi. Alone? He smiled faintly. It's my job. She reached for his hand before she could stop herself. Be careful. He looked down at their hands, then back up at her. That's new. What? Someone telling me to be careful. He squeezed her fingers once, then let go. And when he left the room, she already knew something had shifted. Not just in him, in both of them. She was no longer the girl who flirted with a biker in traffic. And he was no longer the man who only protected her out of duty. Now they were something else. Something dangerous. Something neither of them could undo. The next morning felt different. Olivia woke to an empty bed, to a quiet house that somehow felt colder without him in it. She found a note on the counter, written in sharp, confident handwriting. Stay inside. Don't open the door for anyone but me. L, of course. Short, direct, infuriatingly bossy. She made coffee just to have something to do. Every sound outside made her flinch. She wasn't scared of the house anymore. She was scared of what he might be walking into. Lorenzo Moretti didn't do warnings twice. He'd given Marcello Rossi one last night. The man hadn't listened. Now, he walked into Rossi's private club like he owned it. The music stopped. The men at the bar went still. Lorenzo didn't carry a gun. He didn't need one. His presence was weapon enough. The long hair tied back, the black coat, the calm fury in his green eyes. It was all the introduction required. Rossi looked up from his table, smiling like a man who thought he was untouchable. Moretti, he said. So soon. You bring the girl? Lorenzo's voice stayed quiet. You sent someone to her apartment. Rossi leaned back. A misunderstanding. You don't get misunderstandings with me. Come on, Lorenzo. Rossi lifted his drink. She's just a woman. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. Say that again. Rossi smirked. Just a woman. You don't fall for them. Not you. Lorenzo's hand twitched once. That was all the warning Rossi got before the glass exploded against the wall beside his head. The room froze. Lorenzo didn't raise his voice. You touch her again. I take your ports. You breathe near her. I take your family's name off the map. He leaned closer, green eyes cold fire. You don't test me with her, Marcello. You don't even say her name. And just like that, the smile vanished from Rossi's face. Back at the safe house, Olivia tried to distract herself with cleaning, pacing, anything. But when the knock came, it wasn't Lorenzo's rhythm. Two sharp, one long. She hesitated. Lorenzo. No answer. Her stomach dropped. She backed away from the door. Another knock. Harder this time. Then a voice she didn't recognize. Miss Carter? Delivery. She almost laughed. Delivery. Out here. She turned and reached for the phone on the counter. Dead. The signal was still blocked. The door handle moved. Her heart slammed. Oh, God. Then she heard the unmistakable growl of a motorcycle outside. Loud, fast, angry. The door burst open. Not from whoever was outside, but from Lorenzo himself. He was back. Two men behind him, Rossi's, barely made it onto the porch before Lorenzo had them disarmed. He moved like something unleashed, silent and precise. One hit the wall, the other dropped before he could reach for his weapon. When the noise stopped, the only sound left was Lorenzo's breathing, fast, heavy, and Olivia's heartbeat. He turned toward her. You okay? She nodded, still shaking. They tried to... I know. He took a step closer, hand coming up to check her face. You're not hurt? No. He exhaled, jaw tight. Then we're done playing nice. He walked outside, made a quick call in Italian. Orders, fast and final. When he came back, the storm hadn't left his eyes. You said it was handled, she whispered. It is now. She looked at him. The man who terrified half the city, standing in front of her like he'd take on all of it if it meant keeping her safe. You could have been killed. So could you. I'm not worth that. He stared at her, then crossed the distance between them in two long strides. His hand went to the back of her neck, not rough, not gentle, grounding. Don't ever say that again, he said. You're worth more than every deal I ever made. Her breath caught. Lorenzo. He shook his head. I didn't plan this, Olivia. I don't do relationships. I don't do soft. But I swear to God, if anyone touches you again, I'll burn this city to the ground. Her eyes filled before she could stop it. You mean that? Everything I mean sounds like a threat, he said. That's how you survive where I come from. But this, he leaned his forehead against hers. This is the only thing that feels like peace. Her fingers curled into his shirt, then stopped running from it. He kissed her, not the desperate kind this time. Deeper, slower, sure. The kind that said he'd already made his choice. When he finally pulled back, his voice was low against her lips. Now you know what happens when I fall for someone. What happens? They never get away. She smiled through tears. Good. A week later, the city looked different from a motorcycle. The streets glowed gold in the late afternoon, just like that first day. Only now, she wasn't in her car. She was on the back of his bike, arms around him, head resting against his shoulder, the wind whipping through her hair. No fear this time, no secrets left between them. When the light turned red, he glanced over his shoulder. Déjà vu? He asked. She smiled. Maybe. You gonna flirt again? I might. Careful, he said, voice teasing now. You remember what happened last time? She laughed. Yeah, I fell for a Mafia boss. And he fell harder. He looked forward again, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Hold on, Olivia, he said. This time we ride together. The light turned green. The bike roared to life. And they disappeared into the city. The biker, the girl who smiled at him in traffic, and a love that neither danger nor fate could break. She flirted with a hot biker in traffic, unaware he was a feared Mafia boss. Now everyone knew, and she wouldn't have changed a thing. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.